But when morning came and Ayanfe still hadn't returned, Ajoke's concern deepened. She continued trying to reach Ayanfe's phone, but the line remained dead. By midday, her worry had turned to panic. Frantically, Ajoke called around, reaching out to friends and family, hoping someone might have seen or heard from her sister. But no one had. Ajoke sat anxiously, waiting for Ayanfe to return. Each tick of the clock brought her closer to facing the brewing storm her sister had created. When Ayanfe finally walked in, carefree as ever, Ajoke confronted her. "Ayanfe, what have you done?" Ajoke asked with a trembling voice. "Chinelo and Atom were here. They accused you of sleeping with their husbands. How could you do that to my friends?" Ajoke asked. Ayanfe laughed dismissively. "I only did what came naturally. These men practically threw themselves at me," Ayanfe said. "But do you realize the danger you've put me in?" Ajoke whispered, her tone pleading. "Chinelo isn't the kind of person you want to mess with. She told me herself that if you don't leave her husband alone, there will be consequences." Ayanfe was unfazed. "I've heard worse threats." The next few days were tense. Ajoke told her husband Benga about the situation, and he urged her to find a way to send Ayanfe to a corper's lodge, or better still, get an accommodation from her far away from their estate. But every attempt Ajoke made was countered by their father Kunle, who refused to believe his beloved daughter Ayanfe could do anything wrong. Then, late one evening, while Ajoke was preparing dinner, she received a call from Atom, her friend. "Ajoke, is Chinelo. She's furious. She's planning something. I thought I should tell you." Ajoke's heart raced. She knew Chinelo's anger was no trivial matter. Rumors in the neighborhood spoke of the lengths Chinelo would go to protect her family. She was known to have a network of contacts in the city who could make her problems disappear. Ajoke rushed to Ayanfe's room. "You need to leave town. Or better still, you need to leave this estate. Chinelo is planning something, and this time, she won't just talk." Atom does not know what she's planning, but it's something very terrible. Ayanfe scoffed. "You're exaggerating, Ajoke. No one is going to do anything to me." As usual, Ayanfe left the house that night, brushing off Ajoke's pleas to be careful. She told her sister that she'll be fine. She said she was untouchable. Ajoke watched her sister with heavy heart. She tried calling Ayanfe later that evening, but her phone was switched off. Ajoke sighed, figuring her sister had likely decided to spend the night with one of her many admirers. But when morning came and Ayanfe still hadn't returned, Ajoke's concern deepened. She continued trying to reach Ayanfe's phone, but the line remained dead. By midday, her worry had turned to panic. Frantically, Ajoke called around, reaching out to friends and family, hoping someone might have seen or heard from her sister. But no one had. The following day, with no sign of Ayanfe, Ajoke went to the police to report her missing. Days passed with no leads, no answers. Ajoke's anxiety gnawed at her. She found herself barely able to sleep or eat. She was haunted by the fear of what might have happened to her sister. Exactly a week after Ayanfe's disappearance, early one morning, Ajoke saw through her CCTV camera. Ajoke saw a figure lying outside the gate. She rushed outside, heart pounding. She was shocked. There, lying unconscious on the ground, was Ayanfe. Her once vibrant face was pale and bruised. Her body was battered. Her clothes were torn and her skin bore the marks of a brutal assault. Ajoke cried out, calling for help, and with trembling hands managed to get her sister to the hospital. In the days that followed, Ayanfe remained unconscious, her condition fragile. Ajoke stayed by her side, desperate for her sister to pull through. Eventually, after weeks of treatment, Ayanfe began to recover physically, but the emotional scars ran deep. She was no longer the confident, carefree young woman who had charmed and manipulated her way through life. She seemed hollow, weighed down by the harrowing experience she had gone through. One day, as Ajoke sat beside her, Ayanfe finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "I lost the baby, didn't I?" Ajoke nodded gently, tears brimming in her eyes. But now, Ayanfe faced the harsh reality that her unborn child had paid the price for her reckless actions. With time, Ayanfe's physical wounds healed, but her spirit had changed. She no longer looked at the world with the same arrogant entitlement. Instead, her gaze held a new humility, a quiet understanding of the harm she had caused, not just to herself, but to her sister and all those she had manipulated. She turned to Ajoke one day, eyes filled with remorse. "I'm sorry, Ajoke. I was so blind, so careless. I didn't realize the price I would have to pay." Ajoke took her sister's hand, a mixture of sadness and relief in her eyes. "It took losing so much for you to understand. But remember, Ayanfe, not everyone is lucky enough to get a second chance." Ayanfe nodded, her spirit subdued as she came to terms with her choices. She returned to her parents' home, intent on building her life and letting go of her past mistakes. The experience left her with a new outlook, a hard-learned understanding of the value of humility and the dangers of arrogance. Actions have consequences, and no one is beyond the reach of accountability. And your first story served as a reminder that selfishness and disregard for other people's lives can lead to devastating outcomes. The true measure of character is found not in the power to manipulate others, but in the courage to live with integrity. The choices we make shape not just our lives, but the lives of those around us. Thank you for joining us in this journey through another captivating African folktale. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to stay connected with more powerful stories from the heart of Africa. Please share this story with a friend or two that you feel will like it. Thank you.